Next, we got Magna, and as we alluded to earlier, Magna is a character that kind of disappointed me. In the comic series, she was introduced during the time jump, same way in the TV show. But in the comic series, when she showed up on the scene, I was like, this is a character to watch. This is a character who will fundamentally change The Walking Dead. I mean, when you have a big story arc like the time jump and using a character to introduce the audience back into the world, typically you'd want that to be a main character, if not the main character. I was like, I don't know if she's going to end up hooking up with Rick, or she's going to end up trying to take over the community from Rick, or something huge is going to happen with this character. And what happens with Magna? Nothing. Big, fat, wet fart, nothing happens with this character. As compelling as the potential is, and even in the show, you know, they had the prisoner aspect, and I never really liked Magna. And the actress is good. It's not the actress's fault. It's all in the writing. But I don't hate the character. So she's going in the E tier. You know, just nothing ever happened. There's so much potential there, and nothing happened with her, you know? And that's true in the comic, too. So don't say I never criticized the comic. Next, we got Maxine. This is Mercer's sister. And I find it interesting that they turned the character who Eugene talked to on the radio into Mercer's sister. I think that was smart. I wasn't really all that fond of her pretending to be somebody else and the whole fake Stephanie storyline, and they overcomplicated it. So she was in the relationship between her and Eugene was just kind of rushed. But, you know, I like how she is rebellious and wants to fight back against Pamela and stuff. All that's good. So I'm going to put her in the C tier just because she never rose up to that level. She didn't have enough screen time. That's the truth of it, to get to that next level. Now we got Mercer, another late edition, final season edition, but a character you just instantly like. I mean, just somebody visually, the design, he looks exactly like how he did in the comics, and the suit that he wears, the particular color, and you know, the way he cuts his hair, everything about him, and just the presence that he has and the charisma that this guy has. He's the turncoat, the guy who's on the side of Pamela and the Commonwealth, and he turns to our side after seeing how corrupt everything is. Just a great character, portrayed very well. I think adapted very well. You know, I'm conflicted over whether it's A tier or B tier. I don't know. I'm seeing other characters in the A tier. I don't think he quite competes with that. So I'm going to put him in the B tier. But again, like Lydia, solid B tier. Solid B tier. B tier is not a bad thing. Next, we got Merle. We're getting towards the end of the list, and we're almost 45 minutes into the recording. Maybe we'll split this one up again. I don't know. But this character was very important to the Daryl character, and very compelling. He's kind of a villain early on, and then he disappears for a while. He comes back surprisingly on the governor's side, and just that relationship between Daryl and Merle. Without Merle, there is no Daryl. Without Daryl, there is no Merle. You know, they are very important to each other's story, but ultimately I would say, you know, Merle he's not a guy that you actually like. You like to watch him on screen, but it's a love to hate situation, and you hate him for what he did to Daryl, and how he's just a racist piece of shit. So, you know, I gotta give him the A tier though, just because of how compelling he was, an amazing performance, and when he showed up again, and there's so much about the Daryl character, or the Merle character, that is amazing. So he's an A tier character. And next we got Michonne. Now Michonne in the comics was one of my favorites. Definitely top tier. It's like Michonne and Jesus and Aaron, like those, and Rick, those are my favorites. Michonne in the show is very much different. She's a lot more wise. She's a lot more I don't know what the right word is. Michonne in the comics is very emotionally driven. She's very reckless, and she's bloodthirsty. She's very relatable in that way. She's very flawed. They took a lot of those elements away from the TV show version, and there's pros and cons. To me, it's more of I'm not saying it's bad the way it is, but in terms of me personally, I connect with comic Michonne more, just because of her flaws and just stuff like that. And I think she's one of the most human characters in Walking Dead, and how she adapts to this new world when it comes to the comic. In the show, she, like I said, has that wisdom and that presence, and they gave her that because, a lot of our wise characters have been killed off, the Dales and the Herschels of the world. So we kind of had some of those elements incorporated into Michonne, and of course, Denai Guerrero is perfect for the role. There's no question about it. So I got to put her in the A tier just because it's not S tier for me because it's not that comic version that I fell in love with, and I'm not saying it's worse because it's different in this case. I'm saying that my personal preference is for comic Michonne and TV Michonne is secondary. But I do love the actress, so don't get mad at me. Okay, next we're going for Morgan. Here's another character who would be S tier, or you know what, he would be A tier because his the conflict between the peaceful side of him and the clear side of him was not executed very well in those rushed seasons 7 and 8. But prior to that, he was an S tier character for me. Then the spin-offs get him, and I know it's not necessarily fair in a Walking Dead original show tier list to talk about the spin-offs, but I don't think you can talk about Morgan without the spin-offs because he just disappears. He's gone. So in Fear, it's been especially unclear with the peaceful versus violence, and it really just doesn't track anymore. He's a character who knows everything he needs to know in the exact moment because they write for convenience on Fear the Walking Dead. So, unfortunately, an S tier character has been, I would say, ruined. Or it's not necessarily ruined because if they got good writers to write him again, they could bring him back and he could be an A tier or an S tier character again if they give him some new stuff. But, just because of how bad his character had been kind of butchered, I got to put him in the B tier, man. As much as, I said he was one of the best changes from Walking Dead comic to TV show, and I mean it. And like I said, prior to the Negan arc, he was top tier S character. Don't get me wrong about that, but we got to move on. Speaking of Negan is one of my favorites, and I love the redemption arc they gave him in the show. Added a bit more complexity to the comic, whereas in the comic series, his storyline kind of ended. He wandered off. He killed Alpha, that redeemed him, and then he wandered off, and we never saw him again. Whereas in the show, we gave him so many great moments in the final season, and I'm looking forward to the spinoff with him. And the great portrayal. When he was cast, I said he's not big enough. He doesn't have... Jeffrey Dean Morgan just doesn't have the muscle mass or the height or the presence. I still stand by that, but he was amazing. So I can't imagine anybody else in the role at this point. Next, we got Pamela, a great villain, amazingly portrayed. I think that, very realistic character, very compelling in that way. And she's very reminiscent of politicians of our day. And I think great character. They could have done a little bit more with her, but I like how they gave her the human side with her son and everything and losing her son. So they added a bit more complexity to her. They made her more evil in the show, which I think it would have been more interesting if they got more into her ideology. And this is why the society has to be this way. And then we could have conceded that she makes some great points, and we have to incorporate that into our philosophy as well. That's what happened in the comic. They didn't do that. They wanted to make her more evil to make her more compelling for the TV version. I understand that. So, you know what? She's going in the B tier. Great character. Not as cool as Lance. So, but her connection with Lance is, again, another very compelling part. I hope we don't have any more B tier because we're running out of room in the B tier. Next, we got Jesus, and I'm going to hurry things up because we're going a little long here. Jesus, my favorite in the comic. Not my favorite in the show just because they didn't really do much with him. Actor is great. It's just all in the script. They just didn't give him much to do. He's going in the C tier because, honestly, like, if you don't know the comic version, you're just not really going to be all that impressed with him. You know what I mean? Next, we got Princess. I was never really a Princess guy. I didn't really care for her in the comic series, although she did grow on me over time. Just how upbeat she is, it kind of won me over. In the show, she's a little bit less upbeat, and I mean, she says some funny things, but they try to emphasize the mental health aspects and stuff like that. I didn't really connect with it. I think they did better with mental health stuff in earlier characters, and it felt a little forced. And I don't know. I'm not a princess guy. You can hate me if you like, but she's going in the D tier. I didn't have that same experience where like towards the end of the comic, I was like, oh, I guess I actually like Princess now. I never really had that. I don't know. It's not like I hate her or anything. I just never really had that. And now we got Rick. Finally, we finally got through to the alphabet to get to Rick. And one of my favorite characters of all time. I love Rick Grimes. Amazingly portrayed by Andrew Lincoln. He is the center of the show for a reason. Amazing acting, and they took him so many different directions. I mean, it's about as far as you can go as an actor in every direction. He really killed it. Perfect casting. The only caveat is what I mentioned in my video with the top 5 best and worst changes, is that he is made more immoral in the show, does more anti-hero stuff, especially in the Negan arc. I didn't like how he had Carl die, and that's why he eventually became merciful. In the comic, he did that on his own. So I will say I prefer the streamlined version of Rick in the comic series. But I don't think I can bring him down to A tier just because I prefer the comic version. He's still an S tier character. He's one of the best, and there's just no question about it. Next, we got Rosita. Now, Rosita is definitely a character that I liked. And, she's just not one of the top tier favorite characters for me. I think her send-off in the final episode was one of the emotional centerpieces of the finale. That was great. I like her arc, other than they gave her that weird pregnancy storyline where she had 3 boyfriends and they were all helping raise the baby. That was some weird feminist stuff. I don't know. I didn't connect with it. It felt weird to me. It was funny, but it just felt weird. And then they went back on that. And it was like they wouldn't show her with the baby. And then she's off doing all these other stuff. And it's like, she should be focused on the child, But they brought that back towards the end. And I've always liked her character. She has strength. And I think she's very compelling on screen. And she has a lot of sass as well. And that's always appreciated. So I got to put her in the B tier, I think, because of the weird storyline in Season 9. And, honestly, I thought she was going to die earlier. I don't know. But yeah, I like the character. But, I don't know. Looking at the rest of the B tier characters, I think she fits right in. There's no more space, so she's going to cover up Jadis. Okay. Next, we got, what is it? Sasha. We got Sasha here, who's Tyrese's sister. A good character, but never like top tier. I like how she went out and used her dead body as a weapon against Negan, and she had a strength to her, and they gave her the Andrea sniper storyline. So there's things to like about her, but she was never one of the never like a favorite character for me or anything. So I gotta give her, I'll give her a C tier. You know what? No, we're giving her a D tier. We're giving her a D tier. And now we got Abraham, who is definitely one of my favorites. He's another one of those who always has great lines when he's on screen. He's going to say something that sounds unique. That's an Abraham line. It's very easy to pick out. Loose ends make my ass itch. Amazing character, and died too soon, as far as I'm concerned. I think we got to put him in the A tier, because for me, he's above Rosita and them, but he's definitely he's a character that you love or hate, I think. Or nobody hates him, but it's like some people really love him and some people just like him, you know what I mean? So it's like or love, I guess. Next we got Shane, who is one of the most compelling characters early on, and they took a kernel of an idea from the comic and really blossomed it into something that is dramatically very compelling, and it's one of the best storylines in the show. Him versus Rick at the beginning, and just the importance of the character. Even though he dies early, he is continually referenced by fans. Shane was right. Shane was right. This is the moment that Rick turned into Shane. This is what Shane would think about this current situation. Everybody's always think about Shane, and that's because of how well he was portrayed and how compelling that drama was early on. He's S tier for that reason. I think I made a compelling case. Next, we got Sadiq, who got top billing, apparently. I'm a little bit surprised. I don't know that I like him because he's the reason Carl died, right? Carl died to save him, and you know what? He's definitely likable. You know, he had that fear at first, but then you know he showed strength as well, and he was the doctor. He was important to the plot, and he was one of Rosita's 3 boyfriends. He's the father of Coco. But you know, he's never like one of my favorites or anything. So I got to put him in the D tier. Not that he's a bad character or anything, but I just never connected that much with Sadiq, and the fact that he got Carl killed. How dare you? How dare you? Next, we got Simon. This was kind of the Lance of the Negan arc. He's a character I would say they kind of added for the filler reasons that I'm talking about. He's kind of fun. I mean, he's a great actor, and he's from GTA 5. He's Trevor in that. Amazing, one of the best video game characters ever. He pretty much feels like he plays the same character here, in a way. Maybe just a little bit less random, but a bit less manic, but he's definitely similar. It felt a little bit too like Trevor from GTA. It kind of took me out of Walking Dead a little bit, having him there as that character, talking the same way he does in GTA. You know, I'd go from playing GTA and then watch Walking Dead. It would just feel weird. That being said, he's fun and compelling, but they really just used him so that, oh, here's the guy who does the really evil stuff, so we can still redeem Negan, which again is what they did with Lance in a way, although they didn't really redeem Pamela in the same way. But I gotta say, as fun as he was, he's going in the C tier. You know, I honestly think it hurt the show to me that they had him as Trevor almost. It just took me out of it. I don't know about you guys. Here we got Spencer, who we talked about Deanna, his mother, earlier. The son of the guy in charge, or the lady, I should say, in charge of Alexandria when Rick and them show up. I think they had more complexity to him in the show. Definitely, you know, in his relationship with Rosita and all that. I think he's more compelling than the character you just hate in the comics. That being said, he's not a top tier character, so he's going in the C tier. I think he was definitely better than the comic version, but you know, not a favorite character or anything like that. We're almost done. My voice is almost gone, so we got to finish this, okay? Next, we got Tara. Tara, another character very similar to Enid in that they never really got her to work for whatever reason. I never really cared about Tara that much. When they gave her a full episode in Oceanside, that was the most excruciating episode, the worst episode they probably ever made. I don't know what it is. It's not like I hate her or anything. I mean, you know, I was happy to see her get with, you know, her love interest, whose name I'm forgetting. But, you know, Denise, right? Denise? I don't know. It just never worked, right? Am I wrong there? I don't know. I think she deserves to go in the D tier. Of course, you know, the way she died, very compelling, the head on the pike and all that, but, you know, it was just a character that never really clicked for me. Next, we got T-Dog, who actually never got top billing. He was always a guest star, but I added him onto the list because he's an early favorite for me. I think in the first couple episodes that he's in, he's very central to the scenes that he's in. And then he's just kind of a character with the one-liners later on in season 2. You know, when they finish with the well walker, he says the thing about, oh, good thing we didn't do anything stupid, like shoot it. He always has great lines, and I thought he was a character that was underutilized. They didn't really give him his own arc, but he's a character I always appreciated having on screen. I wish he got more screen time. I'm glad they gave him a good death and that he saved Carol. But he was an early favorite for me, but unfortunately they just didn't give him the screen time that he deserved. You know, I really like that character. So he's going in the B tier. Going in the B tier just because he's a personal favorite. Next, we got the Governor, and now we are almost done with the list. And the Governor, I like the TV show version better in a way because they added a bit more complexity to him in that they made him a bit more likable in season 4. And even in season 3, he doesn't do all the atrocities he does in the comic. But I gotta say that I was still more compelled by the prison arc in the comic series. Just all the crazy shit that happens in it. I was just reading it so fast. So in a way it's better, in a way it's worse, right? So there's good and bad with this character. And, honestly, I got to put him in the B tier, I think. I think the B tier is where he belongs because the end of season 3 when he just kills his own people is disappointing. And the actor is really good, and they did a lot of the compelling stuff with him, but I just, like, a little bit disappointed with some of the execution of that storyline. Next, we got Tyrese. Here's a character, another one who's one of my favorites in the comic series, but he never really got the shine that he did in the comic, and that's partly because he's basically, after Shane, Rick's number 2 guy in the comic series. He pretty much is the function of the character Daryl in a lot of ways. So the fact that Daryl's there and Rick has other men that he trusts that he turns to, Tyrese in the show had to be turned into something different, and I never really connected with it that deeply. The version of the character they have here, he showed up at the prison and then he was gone, and then he came back and then he was gone, and then it was just weird. I like the actor Chad Coleman, did a good job. They just never really connected with me until his death episode really connected with me, but at the same time, I'm not gonna give him too much perks for dying well. I gotta put I think he belongs maybe in the D tier, man. Maybe just because he had so much potential. He could have been one of my favorites. It just really isn't. Lastly, we got Yumiko, and she is a character who I probably would have put in E tier if it wasn't for the final season. They finally gave her a story arc that mattered. She was the lawyer who took Michonne's storyline in the TV show. Michonne's storyline in the comic, I should say. I don't think that her being in that role was as good as Michonne in the comics, especially because Michonne, it turned out her daughter was still alive and was in the Commonwealth. Whereas with Yumiko, it's a brother we didn't know about, we don't care about, isn't a very good character. I don't know. She's good on screen, and it's a good actor, but not a character that I really connected with. I got to put her in the D tier. Above Magna, her counterpart, but still not my favorite. And with that, that is the full list of all my characters from the TV show. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And with that, it's been your boy Shuggy. Let me know if you want me to do further lists with other characters we left out of this list, or maybe spin-offs of The Walking Dead or whatnot. I would love to do more videos like this, or just any other ideas you have for content, shows to cover. Would love to hear it down below. And with that, it's been your boy Shuggy, and I fully lost my voice, and I have to stop talking now. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace out.